Welcome to the deal room. Good afternoon, good evening, everybody. How is everyone doing today?
Welcome.
How you doing, Mr. Dodani?
Nice shirt, bro.
Thank you. It's a big day today. So this is episode number 6. In this episode, we are going to celebrate a little St. Patrick's Day, as me and Dino are wearing a little green for those that can see and those that cannot. We also have a very special guest that we are super excited for today, Miss Arti Bagga Chopra, who is an NLP coach. And those of you that don't know what NLP stands for, it stands for Neuro Linguistic Programming. So for some of you, it's like, huh? Well, Arti gets our head straight and our mindset straight and helps us be much more productive in life as well as in business. So with all that being said, please welcome Miss Arti Bagga Chopra.
She saves lives.
Hey, guys.
First responders.
Stop.
Arti, thank you so much for taking the time out today to spend some time with us today. We really do appreciate it.
Thanks for having me. I'm excited.
Yes, Dino said nothing and has constantly been talking about you. Wonderful, wonderful things that he's been saying. So I've been super excited to meet you and super excited for this episode.
Awesome.
Yeah. So let's just jump into it for the listeners. And again, everybody out there, thank you so much for liking, subscribing, and commenting on our videos. We've been keeping up with everything as best as we can. We're doing a pretty good job, and the show is growing, and we can only thank you out there for doing that. So again, thank you. All right. Well, Arti, what do you think here? Like, what would you say would be like a formula for success for those listening? Okay. I guess, and there's so many ways you could probably go into that, right?
Yeah, that's a big question, big way to start, but it's good. Formula for success. So I'm going to speak to success at really the most. Let's keep it surface level. In our present, in our immediate, how do we find what works for us in terms of becoming successful? So when I think of success and I speak to it, I'm really looking at, in my immediate present, I'm looking at my habits. And so when I say habits are just actions that we repeat. And when you think of habits, you can think of the coffee that you get every day. With the idea that, okay, I wake up and I go brush my teeth and I take a shower and I get ready and I make breakfast. Those are repeatable actions. Those are habits. So finding our formula for success, I mean, we all have 24 hours a day, each and every one of us. Whether you're the president, whether you're Beyonce, whether you're Dino or Sean, everybody has 24 hours. But the idea is, now what we really have to think about is, how are we using that time? Yeah. So what are you inputting into your day that's allowing you to move into the direction of being successful? And you can have good habits and you can have not so great habits. So how are you allowing for good habits to foster, to naturally be a part of your day and have less of the bad ones? So oftentimes with success, and I'm sure you all maybe have experienced it, or you experience it really anytime somebody talks about, oh, I want to go into real estate. I want to be an agent. What are the kind of things that come to mind? And you can outwardly say it right now. What are the kind of things that you hear about when people say, oh, I want to go into real estate?
Like when they walk into my office? Like, well, now I know because I think I've seen it all at this point. So my first thing is, do you know how to write an email?
As simple as that is.
Second is, I think yours is the phone, right? Like,
yes.
Not for you, but I'm saying your question. Sorry.
Oh, you're correct. Like, are you good on the phone, or do you like to talk to people? You know, that is definitely a big part of this business.
Yeah. The most
fear, right?
Basic communication. Basic communication. Oftentimes when people think about becoming an agent or going into real estate, they think of like Selling Sunset on Netflix. They think I'm going to go from 0 to millions immediately. They think success is just going to happen overnight. And maybe each and every one of us in our professions, each and every one of us in our professions, like guilty as charged. I feel like at some point I can admit that I set out to do something and thought it was going to be easier than it actually was. So no judgment. But Darren Hardy says as well in that success oftentimes takes more effort than people are prepared for, but no more than what we're capable of, right? So it takes more than we think it's going to take, but it's not any more than we're capable of. We just have to be able to bridge that gap between really putting in the effort and really installing habits and systems that are going to help us reach what we're really capable of versus falling to the level of our just more immediate goals and habits. Does that make sense?
Yeah. I think sometimes it's so simple sometimes people overthink it. Like, for instance, if you go to the same coffee shop every day, I mean, there's going to be different people there, but if you're hanging out there every day, you're going to meet new people and you can be comfortable in that space and generate business right there. But I think people just overthink it. So I think if somebody can kind of niche it down to something that simple and just stay with the consistency, I think that's a number one way to get things done. But where you come in at that point is their brain, right? Like their brain is not thinking, oh, it's that simple. And I guess that's where you can help, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So how is it that you, for example, Dino, look at the simple concept of going to a coffee shop every day and think of that in terms of, well, I'm going to find success while I'm here. So when we live out our lives, there's this thing called the RAS, or reticular activating system. It's a set of neurons in our brain that keeps us vigilant. It keeps us focused and awake. And it looks for things. It looks for evidence in our outer world. So when we have that and we have programming within us, that we look outward into our environment for evidence, right? So if you look to a particular situation, Dino, and you might look at it completely different than somebody, let's say, who went to the same coffee shop with you, but thought about it completely different, right? So what I like to think of it as a really simple example is like going to visit family, like for the holidays, or going to a dinner or an event. Both of you and this person that you're going with, may experience it just the same in terms of you're there at the same time, you arrive at the same time, you're sitting amongst the same people, but leave at it and have completely different thoughts and emotions and experiences related to it. So on the drive home, you guys are having total different recollections of what just happened. And that has to do with our deepest, most inner programming. There's the conscious mind, there's the subconscious mind. Conscious mind is really don't spend that much time there in terms of, really it's only about 5% of our time is what we spend in the conscious mind. It's just processing immediate bits of information. What do I have to process to make sense of my environment right now? Everything else is the subconscious mind. So that's when we have our behaviors, our behavioral patterns, our memories, our emotions, our stored emotions, our deepest, most inner programming of how we operate, how we believe, what we believe in ourselves, and how we believe in terms of our environment, our world, our outer world. So our ability to succeed, and is our environment or is my world supporting me Is it a safe place? Is it an unsafe place? All of that kind of stuff happens at the subconscious level. So when I speak to that reticular activating system, that RAS, whatever you believe at the subconscious level, that RAS is going to be finding you evidence to match that program. So if you've ever, like I said, I use the example of going to a dinner or going to an event and having very different recollections of what happened, or you realized you focused on very different things than the other person, or even as simple as shopping for a car. If either of you haven't been in that space where like focusing on wanting a particular vehicle, and then what happens? All of a sudden you start seeing that everywhere you go. That's that RAS. That's like finding the evidence for you. So success at a surface level is, yes, looking at your habits, looking at your rituals. What do you do day in, day out? But at a deeper level, now we're looking at our deepest, most inner programming and our beliefs, or sometimes which can be limiting beliefs that are not supporting us, but in fact holding us back from what we want to achieve.
Wow.
And I think that leads us into the second question, correct?
That's pretty. Yes, I mean, speaking of limiting beliefs, like you were just saying there, I mean, I know a lot of times, not only like you were just bringing up earlier about real estate agents and brokers, as well as also clients. I think sometimes when they're looking at a particular property, like you were using the buying a car example, you know, the limiting beliefs that they have. And, you know,
I mean, that's actually super important to me. Like, I freak out in the middle of a deal because if the buyer or group of buyers are not in that mindset that they have a little inclination that maybe they can't get this deal done, because lenders can like pull the deal at the 12th hour. Like, it happens all the time. And so I just need, like, I'm praying for their mindset, their subconscious, on the subconscious level, to be there. Like, this is already closed in my head. You know, I need them to be there. And so that really freaks me out. You know, I mean, when you're doing multi-million-dollar deals, it's super important. And you don't want to start over, right? Is there a way to actually get you involved? Like, hey, okay, so we got to get you with our lender. We got to get you with the inspector, the appraiser. And by the way, Arti's going to be calling you because we got to make sure that you're on the same page as we are.
Yeah. That'd be amazing. That would really be amazing.
It's challenging. You're absolutely right. It's challenging because you're not working with only your projections. What we're projecting outside is, again, giving us evidence that's saying, yes, you're right. So if you start to think that even 1% of you thinks that this may not be successful, there's potential there to sabotage the whole thing. Exactly. Absolutely. So that's where it gets complicated, and that you need to make sure that you're in alignment. Your projections are exactly what you are believing internally that they need to be in order to be successful. So if you think something, you feel something else, you're doing something else, now like you're all out of sorts, and it's totally in misalignment. And so you don't know what you're going to get, frankly. So if 99% of you need certainty. So if 99% of you is like absolutely certain, I can get this deal, I can close it, and this is but you're client facing right now, and you're trying to convince them that you can do it. But there's this one teeny tiny part of you, that 1% has the chance of sabotaging the whole entire thing. Because you can pick that up when you're talking to somebody. You can pick that up, that if somebody is totally congruent, in alignment with what they're saying, versus, I don't know, I'm getting different vibes from this person. I'm not entirely sure if they can really follow through with what they're saying. So yeah, it's complicated when your work, when your success is influenced, you can say, by other aspects, the lender, the person looking to have the listing, and so on. But if you can absolutely influence the situation if you are in 100% congruent and in alignment. You can sense that. There's this sense of like calmness, coolness, collectedness that when you're around somebody who just knows they can do something with absolute certainty. You can feel that versus somebody who has a bit of doubt in them. Would you agree?
Sure. Yeah, Mr. South Florida, he's like automatic with that, right?
Yeah.
But I can just imagine myself now that we've had this had you on, I can just see myself at night now, like just texting. Like people in the middle of the night, hey, you need to watch this video from Arti.
Yeah. Oh, perfect.
We made this for you.
Yeah. Yeah. And Arti, going back to like the limiting beliefs, what would you say those limiting beliefs would be for people that don't reach their full potential or have an opportunity to really even reach a quarter of their potential? Mm-hmm. Sometimes, some cases.
Yes. So oftentimes the limiting beliefs. So for example, a lot of this is programmed very early in our life, super, super early, between the ages of 0 and 7, oftentimes. The beliefs that we have about ourselves and about our world, which makes it kind of tricky, right? Because that programming may or may not be serving you right now. And that programming that was created at the time wasn't just from you and your personal experiences. Other people had part in those experiences. What were the beliefs of the people that you spent the most time with? That can even be influential for you. So if any of you have, I know both of you have kids, so between those super early ages, you see them and you see them modeling the people around them, the behaviors. And sometimes it can be super cute and funny and it's great. But you also have to think at a deeper level of what am I helping this little one form in terms of their beliefs about themselves and about their environment. So I do a lot of work in relation to this with timeline therapy, with timeline work, to go back and make sure that, hey, if there's any rewiring that needs to take place, if there's any reprogramming, that we do it and we do it from the root versus other techniques that might be more so on the conscious level. So at that time, to speak to what you're talking about limiting beliefs and what is it often for folks, well, oftentimes limiting beliefs can come up as these it's just that negative narrative at the back of your mind. So if you're trying to take steps, if you're trying to take that massive action towards something, if you're trying to affirm that, hey, I am going to make this sale, I am going to make this deal, but there's that thing in the back of your mind that's like, are you sure? Are you good enough? Do you have the confidence? Are you congruent in what you're saying? Remember that last time that you said you were going to do that and you didn't? Can you really follow through this time? So that's that negative, nagging, kind of deep inner voice that sometimes show up, usually at the worst possible time, but says some kind of statement related to that. And that's that limiting belief.
I don't even remember any of that. I don't do that at all.
Yeah.
I haven't done that in years. Honestly, I haven't done it in years.
You're positive, though. You are a positive person, and
I'm not modest. I've said it a million times.
That's good. That's your personality, But you're a very positive, uplifting person.
Obviously, when I get tired, on certain nights, I'm exhausted, those thoughts do creep in. But you kind of got to shake them loose or go to bed. And I just feel like we go to events and stuff and everybody's tired. Let's say you go to a wedding or something and everybody's exhausted. And then the next thing you know, everybody's kind of moody, right?
Yeah. Or their vibe, Arti would just say, their aura, that presence that they're giving off is just hey, come on, what's going on? Let's, get a drink and some food,
Yeah.
Absolutely. So you can, but Dino, you can attest to this. This takes some ongoing maintenance. You don't just show up
every
like
second
this.
of every day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So in addition to the past, taking a look at the past and, I like to say honoring the past with some of these techniques that I use, you clean it up. You're cleaning it up at the level of the root, the actual, let's say if you're gardening, you're cleaning it up at the roots, taking out the weeds, right? Oftentimes when we think of like, okay, or we'll continue this gardening thing. So oftentimes when we think of, hey, we want to grow really fruitful, really healthy crops, it can be tempting to look at it from the surface and just be like, oh, let me just trim this like leaf. Let me just do this a little and make it look pretty up top. But the real results come from looking at it at the roots. And then you can start nourishing the soil, which is empowering your presence. So those are those day-to-day things that at this point, Dino, are probably like unconscious programming to you because it feels so natural, that you can do for ongoing maintenance to make sure you are continuously empowering your present and making yourself, managing your state, frankly, and making sure you're in a state that's constantly resourceful. And if you do have those creeping thoughts every so often, you can bounce back with a lot more ease than you could previously.
Yeah. My question nowadays, obviously, is how do I keep the aura around me like that? Right. So who's in my office? Who's in my house? Who's, everything.
Your circle.
Yeah, my circle. Like, I want everybody to feel what I'm feeling. No fear, basically. Yeah, of course it creeps in. I kid about whatever, but we did definitely do that vlog where Justin, right? We said, build every day. And it's like, you have to be in the gym. But if you can't get in the gym, you need a personal trainer to get you there. And that's where Arti, I think, comes in, right? Like, she's the personal trainer.
Yeah.
She's spotting you.
Yeah, I'm spotting you. But just like the type of exercise, it's a mental exercise. It's working out the mind versus working out physically. But it's an ongoing practice. It's not something that, just like with any transformation, it takes time. It takes time. So that's where you brought up a good point, is like, who's your circle? Sean, you brought that up. Like, who are you spending time with? It's very true. How much is your environment supporting you or making it easier for you to do the good stuff versus making it more, and at the same time, making it more difficult to do the bad stuff? So that has to look at putting that filter, putting that evaluation on not only your own personal habits and behaviors, but like, what's that of your circle? Like, what are the common beliefs in relation to success, in relation to happiness and fulfillment and purpose? What is that of your circle? And is that supporting you, or is that just making it harder for you to stay in alignment or in the space that you want to spend a lot of time in?
I think that's hard for us sometimes. And when I say hard for us sometimes, in the business aspect that we deal with, because we want to help everybody or bring everybody in. But it's hard because, like Dino was saying, you want to have those like-minded people, those, like you were saying, like, do you write an email? Are you okay with being on the phone? Are you doing this because it does wear on us in some cases, or certain things to try to, but at the same time, you want to help that person be and let them achieve their full potential. So I think sometimes that's hard.
Because we have it in us, we expect it from them, and it's there. Everybody has it.
Yeah.
That's the whole thing. That's what kind of frustrates me. And I need to call you about this. I'm controlling my emotions. Seriously. But we want them there, and they have it. They just need to flip a switch. But that flipping of the switch is not that easy. It can take months, years, a lifetime, but especially if you're doing it by yourself, how do you even know you're in that space, right? How do you know you're in the wrong room?
Mm-hmm.
Somebody that is in the atrium needs to come and get you.
Yeah.
And that's, again, where coaching, I believe, comes in. I mean, I've spent a lot of money on coaching. I mean, I didn't get here just automatically. I have, throughout my career.
You're always improving.
Or it was a mentor, right? Like as a kid, shaping me. Now, it could have been a drill sergeant type of mentor. I won't say any names, Uncle Charlie, but like I worked in the jewelry business in St. Thomas, and he was an Army drill sergeant. But it wasn't like, hey, that guy's not going to buy from you. It was like, attend him. He's going to buy from you. It was, and it was that like every single hour, not every day. It was like the eyes are on you, like saying that to you. So I've had that. I've been lucky enough to have that in my life. And honestly, Arti, I mean, our culture, there's a lot of that there too, right? Like
in terms of mentorship and
in the Indian culture too,
Yeah.
right? Like there's a lot of mindset. So
yeah, it is very much there. It is tough, especially, I mean, in my line of work, like I walk around all the time and I see potential in everybody. They may not always see it in themselves. So they have to be receptive. They have to be open to the idea of additional support. If you're in a space and you created such and such circumstances in your life, we're all here because of the decisions that we made up until this point. And if you're looking out in your outer world and you're happy with it, you're like, yeah, these are great experiences. I'm happy with it. Wonderful. Explore how you can raise the standard even more. But if you're looking out, all the evidence is around you. If you're looking out in your environment and you're not happy with what you see, you need to be open to additional support. You need somebody to pull you from that room, right? Or get you out of the atrium. Because you can't be in the space in which you created the problem and suddenly find a solution. Like you need to be able to be put at a different level of thinking sometimes. It may be a different perspective. But if you can't solve a problem from the same space as you were when you created it.
Do you think in like situations like that, do you recommend that's like for me, I notice sometimes like you just step away from whatever it may be and just take a break from it mentally and everything and then revisit it as you go back with almost like a new perspective?
Yeah, it can be like just trusted counsel. It doesn't necessarily have to be a coach. Obviously, I advocate for that because I even have one. And I have a handful of mentors that I can look to. Very blessed to look to them for advice in certain situations. It usually comes from some sort of aspect of them that I admire, whether it's their ability to offer different perspective or their ability to create a really fulfilling life. Something like that, in which I have like brought them, at least mentally, into my inner circle, and I can look to them for that different perspective. So when I do find myself in that space of like, whoa, this is too much, stepping back. Yeah, absolutely. Stepping back and being like, who can I pull from in my village to help offer some alternate perspective. So when I do go back, I'm now in a more resourceful state and a more solution-focused state than I was before.
Pretty cool.
Resourceful.
It's very
So I guess we covered the last question, but we can let you sum up by what can we expect when working with the coach? I mean, I know we've gone over it, but I'll let you sum up.
Yeah, kind of, sort of. We have bits and pieces here and there, but there's 3 different phases. So actually, to get even more about the logistics and whatnot, we focus on 3 different phases. So I have a 3-month virtual coaching program that I recommend, and we meet weekly on Zoom. So that's wonderful in that you can be in whatever space that you're in, because oftentimes, as much as we like it, can't pull people from their environment, like they're in their environment. And so we first focus on the past. That has to do with the timeline work that I mentioned, in which we remove major negative emotions from the past. I mean, it takes energy to, whether you're conscious about it or not, it takes energy to hold on to negative emotions that are stored up. And then when you release them, and it's not this type of release where you re-experience it, it's just a very safe and comfortable release. Now you've freed up energy. And so now it's like, well, now I have new energy to be able to create the success I'm looking to create. So that's the timeline work. And then that also covers removing of limiting beliefs. You're going to remove them and you're going to replace them with beliefs that are going to serve you. And that's all done at the root, at the subconscious level. Then the second phase is empowering your present. So daily practices, habits, rituals you want to adopt, that's that kind of like ongoing maintenance. So we've looked at the foundation, we've made sure there's no cracks or anything. Now let's like continuously nurture and nourish the structure that we have, the environment that we have, to make it easier for us to be successful. As simple as that. And then the last phase is looking at your future. Are you in alignment with it? What is it that you want to create? Now you have this freed up energy, you believe in yourself, you're fully congruent, you know what you want. Let's really get crystal clear on that so you can go full speed ahead and start creating it. So that's all in 3 months. So that's what I've designed, and I'm fully confident in it because I've just done it hundreds of times with people, and that they truly do experience a transformation, whereas typically on their own, like Dino said earlier, it might take weeks, months, or years, or just experiences that are far more than just sitting in front of a Zoom call for an hour a week. Like it's truly transformational, and that's why I recommend it to anybody seeking to experience different. If you want to experience different, you got to do different. So if in thinking about the year so far, it's March. I'm looking at it. It's March. What did you do the last 90 days? Thinking about that. What is it you're going to do with your next 90 days? Is it going to be different than what you did from the start? You have to do different to experience different. And that's what this coaching program allows you to do.
Outstanding.
So it's great to figure it out. And what might your life look like with that freedom, that spiritual freedom? What if you can breathe better and hear and you hear birds? I know it sounds corny, but birds chirping when you walk outside and not trucks going. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
Like, it's that perception again, right? So it can change your life, literally change your life. And I'm sure my wife is very appreciative and, gives gratitude as well. So
yeah, thanks, Dino. That means a lot.
You have my gratitude,
Super
of course.
sweet. Yeah.
Thank you.
That's
great. Just look at the trade-off. We often spend on really fleeting moments, fleeting experiences. We maybe think of the last time you overspent on something, whether it's a clothing item or something like that, or a very short experience,
or an iPad.
and I love that. It's like, what have you got to lose? What's the trade-off here? If you say yes to this, what is it going to allow you to do? What is it going to allow you to experience or possibly grow into? So yeah, thank you, Dino, for that testimonial. I appreciate it.
Yeah, I'll never forget
Happy to be on the journey with you.
I actually met Arti because of my wife. She was doing a CBD event or something like that. Like it was an event, and my wife was doing CBD. And I think it's your sister that had a
That's right.
table or like a setup there, and you just happened to be there, like with your
I was
cards
just helping her
out.
out.
And I don't even remember her, but I grabbed her card, and of course that stuck with me because I'm all about the,
It was meant to be.
you know,
You guys are, it was
that
right time.
you know, mindset stuff. And I was in that place too at that time. Everything's timing. You know, you might watch this podcast like in the year 2030. Who knows? Give her a call. Who cares?
Yeah.
But it's all about timing. So,
Big believer in that.
yeah. Did you want to go ahead and drop to the listeners your social media, website, Instagram? Shadi,
Yeah.
you're
Let's do
married.
it. So just go to coachingwithinreach.com. Coachingwithinreach.com. On that, you can book a consultation. Book a 30-minute time slot with me. There's a link right there. It's very obvious. I made it very obvious on purpose. So book some time with me. You know, even if there's any part of you that feels like this could benefit you, let's just talk about it. Be very transparent and honest and objective. And if we together feel like this is something that's going to help you, you can consider moving forward. And if not, I'll be really honest with you too. I think you can attest to that, Dino. It's like I'm blessed to be in a space in my practice in which I can give that, you know, honest guidance and feedback. If it's not me, maybe it's somebody else, but do something. Like, do something different. I'm just going to strongly encourage everybody after listening to this is do something different than you maybe wouldn't have before. You likely already have the answer. If you were to ask yourself, what's the next step I need to take to make the most positive change in my world? You likely already have the answer. Do it. Don't wait. Take the next step. And if you need support, I'm here. I can help you out.
Beautiful. Beautiful.
Thank you so much, Arti.
Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you.
Very grateful. We saw your schedule. We were hoping to try to make it work. We were like, oh no, so again,
Yeah,
we
March is
sincerely
busy. It's a
thank
good
you
month.
so much.
It's a good month. Thank you guys. Really appreciate it. Thank you for having me.